Here I'm doing a lot better. Um, so I still have that kind of congestion from being sick this past week. But I wanted to do a topic video just for the heck of it. I was starting to think about it because, like earlier, um, I don't know, things came to my mind and not so much an argument. Somehow, me and my boyfriend had a discussion, and it was just silly stuff, and then we got over it. But I want to talk a little bit about relationships, and I know I've had many videos about relationships, but just to give kind of an update and kind of advice of what has helped me through the process of um, the time I've been with my boyfriend. Um, First of all, last year, going through last year was a struggle in itself. Every relationship has its ups and downs, and I know you guys heard this growing up, and I know you've heard it just all your life. Relationships takes a lot of work and a lot of effort, and it's easy. It's easy when you have disagreements to look at those disagreements like, oh no, the relationship's bad, but not necessarily. A lot of it has to do with growth. A lot of it has to do with adjustments. Last year, I went through a lot of adjustments, and I went through a lot of process that I didn't want to go through. Pretty much the fires and the flames and the heartaches and the struggles. And I'm still not there. I haven't made it. Like all of us, we haven't made it. um, but when you're talking about relationships, there's so much out there people have talked about for relationships sake, for advice and such. But one of the advice or topic or whatever that I want to discuss is, what do you do when you have arguments, and what do you do when there's a lot of disagreements and a lot of negativity in your relationship, whether it's with your other partner, whether it's people in general, whether it's friends, whether it's just relationship in as a whole. I learned, just in this past few months, um, a lot of internal things, and that's what I want to talk about too. When you're having to deal with a lot of relationships in general, um, it's best to step back a moment. Like for me, when I um I don't want to go and backtrack, but like when I divorced my ex-husband, you know, I went through a lot. I went through a lot of changes, a lot of mindset, and I'm still trying to work through that process of how I was programmed, of how I um, took a lot of years of the abuse and a lot of years of just the program of when you're with someone. When you're with someone, as long as you're with them, whether it's a few weeks, whether it's a few months, whether it's this and that, you start developing what is called your environment, what is called um, pretty much what you associate in that relationship and the mindset for that particular relationship. Now, anyways, I was talking about, when I was with my ex husband, I was programmed a certain way. I was thinking a certain way. I was emotionally um, at a certain level. And when I got with my boyfriend, I'm not saying it was perfect, but I was, and I'm still going through a process of trying to reprogram my mind. to not always say, hey, he did this or we did that. And it's a lot. Still today, it's a lot of adjustment and a lot of process to reprogram your mind. And that's another thing, and I'm trying not to get backtracked on here and stuff, but in general, in a relationship, one thing I have learned, this is just me, this is not Dr. Phil, Dr. Susie, or whoever's advice. This is what I personally have learned just in previously, in 2006 and years after that, or years before that, when I was married and, with my boyfriend, almost going in 2 years with him. This has helped me. And what do you do when you're in those arguments, when you're in those disagreements, when you're struggling in life in general? One thing that has helped me tremendously is not so much being selfish, not so much looking at yourself and not the partner. But that's when you're dealing with your spouse or your partner or friends or family, you have to step aside and try to process it and try to go through internally and try to figure out what you can do differently. And it's hard when you're dealing with relationships. It's hard when you're dealing with a partner that isn't supportive, that isn't there for you, and you feel alone. Because there was a period of time last year I was so in doubt with the relationship and where it was going. And it seemed like every time I turned around, things were thrown at me to leave and to be pushed away, and a lot of things pushed me away. And it's also really hard when you've been in a previous relationship and you're in another one. You start thinking, hey, this is what so and so did to me, and you're doing the same damn thing they're doing. But you gotta stop for a moment and stop blaming it on a philosophy, on a mental process, on what so and so did to you, because they're not who you're with. And it's easy to get in that mindset and that frame of mind that, hey, you're doing what so and so did and I don't like it and I'm offended by it. But that's when you have to step back, and that's what happened for me when I went through leaving my boyfriend and the process of going back to him and stuff. I was like, if I'm going to work this out, if I'm going to be with him 100%, I have to put aside my issues, whether it be my jealous issues, whether it be just his family issues. If I'm going to give this 100%, I have to be willing to put aside these things that are somewhat controlling me and somewhat condemning me as a person and making me feel unwanted and unloved and unappreciated. That's what you have to do. But I would suggest, if you are in a relationship, whether it's a friend relationship, a family relationship, just a relationship with a partner in general, and it's toxic, there's nothing that's helping you grow as a person. And that's one thing that I have personally learned. When you're in a relationship, whether it's marriage or boyfriend or girlfriend scenario, you have to not only think about the other person, but you have to evaluate both sides. And there has to be an equal amount. If something over here isn't working and you're feeling like you're being rejected, you're feeling unloved, unheard, that's when you got to start not necessarily focusing on yourself and forgetting the other person, but internalizing what is the issue at hand and what is causing me to react a certain way. And I'm telling you, whether it's family, friends, or whatever, it's easy when people come at you in an offensive, passive aggression and say, hey, you're doing this and I don't like it. And it's easy for us to get offensive and bent out of shape every day. But, just today, I learned you got to listen to the other person's side and see it as if you took your body and placed it in that person. Now, why is that person feeling annoyed by me picking my nose or something? And it's easy. Like, there's been times my boyfriend has done something. It's like, seriously. And, kind of like today, power blew out or something. I was doing something like microwaving something, and then the outage. And it's like I was being blamed for it because I was the stupid one for putting two things out at once. But at the end of the day, it's really nobody's fault. You just gotta internalize it, and or not necessarily internalize. I'm not saying go in and just be mute and don't talk to anybody. But you gotta go in and fix it and think, what can I do to make it better? And then if it's not getting better, it's not getting resolved, then it might be time for you to say hello and bye. Because if there's no resolve and you're up till 3 a.m., like I've been before, 3 a.m. arguing over stupidity, and the person is not coming to an agreement, or sometimes you just got to give it time. Like for me, I had to get to that point to leave, to actually figure out what the heck is wrong and what can I do to resolve it. And I've come to terms with it, that I had to agree to the things he wanted, and I had to find a middle ground. We both had to find a middle ground, what works for both of us. And so that's pretty much what my advice is for family disagreements, relationship disagreements, friends disagreement. You have to do ultimately what you feel is best at the end of the day. And if others aren't upsiding with what is going on and stuff like that, then you have to come to terms with things and really sincerely start thinking about, is this what I want in my life? Do I just want this toxic just thing attacking me internally and making me feel unwanted and unloved and unappreciated? It's all up to you at the end of the day if you want to deal with it. And I've learned, yeah, there's some things that it can't be resolved, but you try to just turn it around the best you can and try to really make the best of it, even though it's just baloney at the end of the day. Anyways, that's my take on relationship issues and drama and whatever. And I hope it can help someone. And if you are going through issues, whether it's relationship issues in general or family or friends, I'm always here to talk to if you need just that encouragement or that help. So that's something for you guys to process throughout your day or night or wherever you are. Have a good day. Bye.